Hi guys, this is Tom Harrop from TJ Tutors, and today in this session we're going to be working on some reading skills based on the VIPERS acronym. Okay, so you might have heard of this before, guys. The VIPERS acronym, this is the different reading skills that students that are studying, especially for the 11 plus, the SATs, you'll be looking at these different types of skills to go through. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through these different reading skills and just really understanding kind of what it is that we need to do when it comes to some of the different kind of questions that come up. So what we're going to do first of all, we're going to start with just understanding what VIPERS means. So I'm just going to give everyone just a moment just to see if they can try and start to write down some of those examples of what it means, what it stands for, this acronym, VIPERS. Okay, so I'll just give you just 1 minute to do that, guys. See if you can try and get that for me. Okay, right, so hopefully you've managed to get them all correct, because this is something that you really do need to be learning here. It stands for vocabulary, inference, prediction, explanation, retrieval, and summarizing. Okay, so these are the different reading skills that you need to be able to master to be able to be doing well in your comprehension tests. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have a little look at is vocabulary. This is where you can kind of show off your word knowledge. Now, don't worry if you come across tricky words. There's always a hack for that, and that's to look at the words and phrases around that tricky word to guess what it might mean. Okay, so it's a bit like being a detective. So, for example, this sentence here: the mischievous fox was cunning and sly as it tiptoed through the forest. Now, we can infer if the word cunning, if the question was, what does the word cunning mean? Well, we can probably guess that it means something clever, because the fox is being sneaky, right? So we can infer that this might mean clever, sneaky, something to do with that. Now, the next one we're going to have a little look at is as follows. Okay, so let's have a go at doing this your turn. Try this one. The ancient castle stood in ruins, shrouded in an eerie mist. Okay, I want you to think about, what does eerie mean? Try and think about that as we move on to the next skill. Inference, next of all. Okay, this is where we become kind of almost a bit like mind readers. Now, inference is where you're reading between the lines. I've done a couple of videos on this already. I did one, I think it was last week actually. But this is where you can sort of, you have to kind of make educated guesses, if you will, based on what you've read and what you can see. So it's like when you can tell that your teacher's having a bad day, even though they haven't said it out loud. You can pick up on their clues. Okay, so let's just have a little look at this example here. So Tom's hands trembled as he stared at the clock. His palms were sweaty. So what can we infer? Tom's probably nervous about something, right? Maybe an exam, or maybe he's waiting for something big to happen. Now let's have a little look at another one here for you, okay? So Sarah looked out the window frowning while her friends played outside. What can you infer about Sarah? Try and think about it as we move on to the next skill. Next up is prediction. This is all about making educated guesses about what might happen next. So imagine you're reading a mystery and the detective finds a strange clue. What do you think they'll do next? So here's an example. The detective found a torn piece of a map in the alley. What's your prediction? Will the detective follow the map? Will they look for more clues? What do you think? These are where we're predicting information. Let's have a little look at this one here, okay? So Jack was about to enter the haunted house when he heard a noise behind him. What do you think Jack's going to do here? Try and think it over, and then we're going to move on to explanation now. So E for explanation. Okay, this is where you can explain why things happen or why a character feels a certain way. Okay, so it's more than just saying because. Okay, you need to give reasons. So take, for example, this sentence. Lily felt relieved as she found her lost puppy. Now, the question might be something along the lines of, why is Lily relieved? Well, she's probably worried about a puppy going missing, and now she feels better. So explanation skills require thinking about emotions and the story context. Okay, let's try another one. Ben felt proud after winning the race. Now, why might he feel proud? Okay, think about all the practice he puts in. Does that make sense? We're going to move on now to retrieval. So Alice found a key under the bed. Retrieval is where you are just finding the information. So for example, if this is what the text said, you would be kind of probably prompted to say something like, where did Alice find the key? So you just need to retrieve the answer. In this case, it'd be under the bed. Next up with this one as well. So for example, if it was the dog was sleeping on the couch, somewhere found in a bigger text, where is the dog sleeping? It's fairly easy, right? So it's finding out where the information is. Okay, so let's go to the final skill now, summarizing. So S for summary, and this is where we shrink down the whole story into a few key points. Okay, so imagine telling your friend about a movie that you watched that you only have about 20 seconds to tell them. What would you say? That's where you're summarizing. Okay, so have a look at this one. Anna went to the market, bought fruit, and then walked home in the rain. Okay, so to summarize, you could say Anna went shopping and walked home in the rain. Easy, right? Here's another one for you. Sam climbed the mountain, reached the top, and took in the beautiful view. How would you summarize that in a sentence? See if you can comment in the chat for me, guys, how you'd summarize that in a sentence. Okay, so we've just gone through these kind of quite briefly. And what I want you to just try to think about here is the following. Okay, so I'll just give you a bit of time to just digest this information here. But these are the kind of things that you're going to get asked in an exam. Okay, so I've got just the list of the different skills, what it means here, and then example questions. So for example, for a vocabulary question, it's basically understanding tricky words. It's your ability to kind of explain what the word means. Now, this is where your reading comes in really, really importantly, because this is where you need to be exposing yourself to lots of different texts, lots of different kind of words, because you're going to have tricky words come up in those exams, right? So it might be something like, what does melancholy mean in this passage? Okay. Inference, generally, you're going to be getting more marks for those kind of questions. Same with prediction, because you've got to be doing a little bit of reading between the lines. Okay. Now, inference and prediction are quite similar because you're kind of making an assumption based on what you've read. But for example, an inference question might be, why do you think the boy hesitated before answering? A prediction question might be, what do you think the character will do next and why? Okay, so it's kind of like a double barrel question. You've got to kind of give a reason, give a statement, and then kind of give a reason why afterwards. Okay. Explanation, again here, explaining ideas and the language use. Okay, so again here, this is where you're going to get more marks for this kind of thing. How does the writer do this? Okay, so you're doing a little bit of inference when you're explaining, but you're using your words to put across a point of view. Okay, and then kind of you're often going to be giving evidence to do that. So it's often, how does something? How does the author create suspense? Or how does the use of simile make this interesting? Yeah. Retrieval, after that, finding specific information. What did the girl hide under the bed? Yeah, what does the character do here? Or write down 3 things, and you're normally going to get a mark for each kind of idea that you find, right? So retrieval skills, we want to be building those up all the time. Summarization, okay, so summing up the main idea. So summarize this extract in 1 sentence. Okay, so again, this is practicing that skill, making sure that we're getting as much as we can on the page. Okay, now let's have a go at analyzing an extract using VIPERS. Okay, so the extract's from The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. She stood looking at them, not knowing what to say. There were worn, old-fashioned roses climbing over the wall, making a curtain of pink and white blossoms. The air smelled sweet, and in the centre, a single robin tilted its head, observing her curiously. Okay, so we're going to go through some different types of questions here, and I want you to try and write down your answers. I'm going to give you a bit of time for each one, okay? Your first question here, guys, is vocabulary. So what does curiously mean in this passage? I'll give you 1 minute to have a go at this. Okay, so it means with interest or inquisitiveness, as the robin's watching the girl closely. How did you do? Did you get that right? Think about trying to explain your reasons here, okay? Next question is, what does the description of the roses suggest about the garden? Okay, we're inferring information here, okay? Let's have another go at this one. Okay, right, so inference, it suggests the garden's old, possibly neglected, but it still holds beauty. Okay, so we're inferring details. Right, next one, prediction. Think about what might happen next. Look at the name of the story if you're not familiar with it. What might happen next here? Okay, let's have a little look. So, what could possibly happen next? She might step into the garden and uncover some of its hidden secrets. So we're taking information from the text and we're making our assumptions based on that. Next up is got explanation. Okay, so how does the author create a sense of mystery? You might want to use some evidence for this one. Again, I'll give you a minute to have a go through this one now. Okay, let's have a little think about what is being done here to create mystery. So the phrase is not knowing what to say, and the air smelt sweet, make the scenes seem very mysterious and also probably quite magical as well. Okay, so we're trying to find information to back up what we're saying here. Next up is retrieval. So what kind of flowers are growing in the garden? I'll give you 30 seconds for this one. Okay, so hopefully we've got them right. Pink and white roses climbing over the wall. Okay, next one and final one is summarisation. So summarise the passage in one sentence. I'll give you a couple of minutes for this because this can take a little bit while sometimes to get your head round. 2 minutes. See if you can summarise the passage in one sentence. Okay, right, so you might want to summarise it by saying a girl stands in front of a hidden garden surrounded by roses and a curious robin, unsure of what to do next. Okay, cool. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now we're going to have a go at working with some further tasks now. I'm going to give you a few more minutes to go through each of these. We're going to now look at an extract from Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversation? So I'm going to give you the first three. You've got the VIP, if you will, the VIP of the VIPERS acronym. First few questions here then is, what does peeped mean for vocabulary? Inferring, so how does Alice feel about her sister's book? Prediction, what you think Alice will do next. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of time to do this now, guys. See what you can get here. Okay, right, let's have a little look at some of the answers that we've got for this. Okay, so let's just go through. Peeped means to look quickly or sneakily at something, as Alice glances at her sister's book. Inference. So how does Alice feel about her sister's book? Well, she finds it very boring and uninteresting because it has no pictures or conversations. What do you think Alice is going to do next? Well, she's probably going to look for something more exciting to do, such as following the white rabbit into Wonderland, if you're familiar with the story. Cool. Right, next questions, guys. So we've got the ERS now. So how does the author show Alice's boredom? Where is Alice sitting for retrieval? Nice and easy, that one. And then summarising. Try and summarise that passage into one sentence for me. Okay, let's have a little look at some answers here. So the author describes Alice as very tired of sitting by her sister and having nothing to do. Okay, so he also shows her lack of interest in the book by making her question its usefulness. What is the use of a book, she says. Where is she sitting? She's sitting by her sister on the bank. And if you can summarize this in one sentence, Alice feels bored, Alice feeling bored, peeks into her sister's book, but is disappointed that it has no pictures or conversations. Okay? So guys, what we've done today is we've had a little look through some of the different VIPERS skills. What I want you to try and do is a little kind of takeaway task after this. Try and create your own VIPERS challenge. The best way that you can kind of improve your VIPERS reading skills is to have a go at making the questions and the answers yourselves, right? So you can choose a passage from your favorite book and write your own VIPERS questions. So for example, you can take a passage like this. The wind roared through the trees as the dark clouds swallowed the sky. Jamie clutched his coat tighter, stepping cautiously through the thick forest. Okay, so you could, for example, take a short extract and you can start thinking of your own questions for that. Okay, so guys, what I want you to try and do for that is to work on that, keep going through, keep practicing, but the main thing, guys, is to be reading. Okay, you've got to be reading every single day and practicing, working on some kind of reading log. Okay, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that today, guys. It's been great to see you all again, and I shall see you again soon. I've been Tom Harrop, founder of TJ Tutors, and I'll see you next week.